Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio, your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Get ready for Talking Heads, the show where expert insights meet world-class education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. Brought to you by USA Global TV and Radio. Meet our distinguished presenters. From the great state of Texas, longevity expert, award-winning author, publisher, and distinguished Toastmaster, red.olaughlin. From London, England, soul heart awakener, novelist, vocal coach, and artist, Dr. Madeline Chan. Also from England, the Harley Street stress expert, therapist, ambassador for peace, and speaker, Carolyn Heward. And from Australia, ICF PCC credentialed coach, entrepreneur, and leadership coach, Mariska Dupria. Experience their expertise, connect with their wisdom, and transform your perspective. Watch Talking Heads on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. This video and its contents are the property of USA Global TV and Radio. All rights reserved. Terms and conditions apply. Visit usaglobaltv.com for more details.
Hi, red.olaughlin here. Another wonderful day here in Texas. I'm in the Houston area. And our forecast for next week says 4 to 5 inches of snow, if you can believe that. We do get snow about once every decade, but that's another story. In fact, trivia question. The most amount of snow ever in Houston in 24 hours is 22 inches of snow back in 1895. I think February 25th, if I remember right. Regardless, let's get started with today's show, Talking Heads, on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. I'm red.olaughlin. I love doing the show because I can talk about a subject that I know a little bit about, and I want to share a little bit of value with my audience. And so let me go ahead and get my slides lined up so we can get that going. Okay. Today we're going to talk about inflammation, something that's with us all the time. And this show here on the Talking Head show can be found on Amazon Fire, on Zizzle TV, on E360 TV, on YouTube, on Android TV, on Apple TV, and on social media channels. I have mine simulcasting on both my personal and business account on Facebook, but you can also probably find it on Instagram and LinkedIn. And it's live streaming TV, just like you'd see anywhere else. It's a live program. My wife watches the show downstairs and gives me feedback on just about every show that I do. But it's also available in podcasts that you can find. So if you really need to find a previous program, go to YouTube, go to USA Global TV, click on it, go to playlist, and type in the search bar, a little magnifying glass, what you're looking for, or if you just type in the name of the person, such in my case, red.olaughlin. So that being said, inflammation. Yeah, let's go ahead and cover the disclaimers first. I'm a researcher, not a medical professional, never been in that field, never been in the pharmaceutical field. I fell in love with chemistry in high school, got a degree in it. Got an invitation to Vietnam, never got a chance to practice chemistry. I was in the military for 4.5 years on active duty. Came back after Vietnam was over and got involved with a bunch of different things. So I got another degree to support what I was doing, then another degree. Then I was teaching a while at college at night. Moved back to Houston, got another degree. Then went to the Naval War College, got a degree there. And so I have 5 different academic degrees because they supported what I was doing in my civilian life at the time. I did 20 years in the reserves, then went back on active duty for 6 years. And I spent a couple of years in New York City, a couple of years in the Bay Area, California. And my last 2 years in the Navy was in Stuttgart, Germany. And I retired in 1999. So I've been out almost over 25 years since I retired. But I got a bunch of professional certifications, and one of those was mentioned in the Primo. That's the Distinguished Toastmaster. But 31 years in the Navy, 61 countries that I've been to, got my wife to 30 of them. I really and truly, I research the human body at the cellular level, chemically speaking. I look for cause and effect relationships. Treat a cause, fix a problem. Treat symptoms, you're putting a Band-Aid on something. It may work out that everything fixes itself, but then again, it may not. Been married 56 years, 2 kids, 3 grandkids, and our first great-grandson will be 1 year old, probably here within the next week or 10 days. Best-selling author, done 8 books, independent publisher, mentioned Distinguished Toastmaster. I'm a writer. I have over 1,000 original content articles on LinkedIn, mostly on health and wellness. As always, this information is for educational and awareness purposes only. And I was honored when I got the end results for 2024 on the USA Global TV and Radio Network, a show I do called The Wise Ones. I was rated number 2 and number 6 in the number of views. So I was elated over that. Well, that almost is enough about me, but we're going to continue on here. In November, I started a program. Let's kind of get ourselves into the mode of New Year's resolutions early. And like most of us, I failed here, there, and yonder, made some good success, and then turn around, a couple of Christmas parties back to back. Anyway, I started in earnest again on the 1st of January, and my weight, which was above where I started in early November. These are all early November start credentials. So I'm down almost 4 pounds as of today, 0.6 off of my BMI, 0.5% off of my body fat, 1/3 of a percentage off of my subcutaneous fat. Visceral fat is really the one that I'm keying everything to. I don't care about the weight. I don't care about some of the other ones, but the visceral fat is the one I want. Now, I'm down today -4. I'm down to 11.9. And for visceral fat, they have a measurement, cubic centimeters. They kind of estimate sometimes by waist to by different measurement, but they're estimates. But I step on a scale and I get it measured fairly accurately. They don't give me a unit of measure, but anything below 12.2 is considered pretty healthy. Anything above 12.2 is not. So I'm finally down in that 11 range. So I'm feeling better about it. And my basal metabolic rate is down 22. Good and bad. I would prefer to have it go up a little bit, but that's what burns the fat that I'm trying to burn off. Okay, let's jump into inflammation. Chronic low-level cellular inflammation is what causes disease. I write about it in my book, The Joy of Ageless Health. Talk about stress and toxins and radiation, infection, inflammation, diet, and even expectations. There's a lot of things that cause inflammation to occur in the body, and we'll be going into some of those here today. But in each of those particular categories I just mentioned, I have a section in this book that talks about it, talks about what causes it, and what options you might have about it. So let's go ahead and move on a little bit. Okay, inflammation is inflammation, but it's not always exactly the same. Inflammation actually is a normal process of healing for the body. I'm going to get in specifically into that part here in a minute, but I have inflammation that rises to a level that the immune system has to get involved in, but we don't show any signs of any disease. There's nothing there to trigger it, but it triggers the immune system. And then I have the daily stuff that's at the cellular level that's attacking my DNA, my RNA, my proteins, my enzymes. This stuff goes on all the time. It's just part of life, and we'll talk about that. So of those several types, each one has a potential of harm to the body. Okay, healing. When we are healing, inflammation is part of the process. We get an injury, a minor burn, abrasions, sprains, strains, any kind of trauma that causes tissue damage. Our immune system is going to be activated, and we're going to go through this process of isolating, neutralizing, and removing any debris that's in there. And that's the way our healthy body works. So I look at the immune system is there to help improve the whatever is damaged. So it's going to promote healing. It's going to promote repair. But in the meantime, we might be suffering with swelling because that's part of the isolation. I sprain a thumb. It's going to swell up. it's isolating that thumb from any other bad guys showing up and providing additional attacking mechanisms within the thumb. It's going to emanate a little bit of heat because of that swelling. You're going to see redness. You're going to feel a little bit of pain if you try to use it. But that's our immune system. That's the way we're designed to work. However, if you start looking at what causes things to happen, and when I look at a cause and effect relationship, well, what causes the autoimmune system to activate? Well, an injury. Well, what causes? And from a chemical perspective, I'm down at the cellular level, and there's something there that when it's a trauma occurring, some kind of injury or infection or whatever, I'm going to activate a bunch of things. Well, the couple of the things that activate are what's called cyclooxygenase, certain enzymes, and also lipoxygenase, LOX, LOX. I decided let's just concentrate on one today rather than try to get complicated. And between COX-1 and COX-2, we find COX-2 primarily in our stomach and intestinal linings, and it's a very protective mechanism because both of those have a high degree of acidic activity going on in them. But the COX-1, it's dormant. It's in our brain, our lungs. It's all over our body, but it's there in case something happens. It's dormant. But if in the event that the autoimmune system knocks on the door and says, "Hey, activate," okay, now COX-1 becomes the instigator. So I get things going. I have a certain amount. COX-2 now becomes the instigator, and it's going to activate the cellular defenses. Well, the first thing it does, it activates something called arachidonic acid, AA. That arachidonic acid activates what's called PGH2, a proglastin that's labeled as H2. So we got the first couple of things going, and then it continues. We activate other prostaglandins. Then we activate the thromboxanes, and there's several other things that are going on. But as we're doing this, we activate a blood clotting mechanism. We activate our blood vessels to constrict. So we're isolating the area. We swell up because we're keeping everything out. But we're doing a lot of things. So we see the pain, the soreness, all sorts of things are happening because this thing was activated by the COX-2 enzyme. So I look at what can I do? Well, typically what most of us do, we take what's called a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory, Tylenol, for instance. However, about 16,000 people die every year because of NSAIDs. That's a lot of people. Now, some of these things are prescription level NSAIDs, and I'll talk about Vioxx and Bextra in a minute. But if I just take something like acetaminophen, well, that's 500 people a year die because of acetaminophen poisoning. Their bodies can't handle it. They have a lot. I had a friend of 7 days in intensive care. First time he ever took acetaminophen. Some people just have horrible reactions to it. But the NSAIDs, the non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, inhibit both COX-1 and COX-2, the cyclooxygenase enzymes, one that protects the stomach and the intestinal tract, and another one that is activated in the event that it's needed. So I can protect my stomach and my intestine, but if I'm taking something that inhibits both of them, now I'm subject to having stomach issues. I take a Tylenol, and they say don't take it for too long. I think if it's fever, they say 3 days. If it's a pain, 10 days. Believe them, there's a lot of damage that can be done. And yes, over time, the damage can be fixed by our bodies. But why create a problem if you don't have to? Vioxx was taken off the market because it created a lot of heart attacks and strokes. Bextra was another one. There were several there. And they called it a COX-2 selective inhibitor. But it wasn't. It still caused problems with COX-1. Not to the same degree, but it still caused problems. But the ability of science to try to create one thing that's going to mimic a natural ingredient that will only shut down COX-2 but not shut down COX-1, well, they're out there. We'll talk about a couple of them. But when they're doing that, well, I'm still shutting down the ones I don't want to. And I'm increasing my risks of cardiovascular issues, strokes, hypertension, because the synthetic version of this natural product just does not have all the rest of the protections that are needed. So the prescription drugs that we take can affect other things. In other words, I'm taking a medicine. Let's say I have lithium for some kind of mental issue, or I'm on a blood thinner for something else. I take a prescription drug. Well, they can affect things. Well, the NSAIDs that I might be taking might be affecting some prescription drugs. There's a lot of issues in there. Probably your best friend is your pharmacist. I've gone in and talked to mine more than a few times. Okay, what about this? Well, it doesn't say so explicitly in the literature. I remember I was going through shingles not very long ago, and I'm trying to wonder, why is my blood pressure so high? And I'm talking about super high, 230 over 150. And I'm looking at the medicine Lyrica that I'm taking, and I finally find a mention of high blood pressure. So I go in there and I say, does it talk to him? He said, oh yeah, absolutely it does. And so I got off of it, but it takes about 3 weeks to get that stuff out of your system, a long time. So if you have a problem and you're on something you put yourself on, especially like an NSAID, and nothing's fixing, get yourself to see the doctor, find out what's going on. There's other options that are out there, some not as bad as the over-the-counter ones. But talk to your pharmacist. They can be very, very helpful. But if I'm taking these things and all of a sudden I'm taking it for, let's say, pain, well, I might see bloating in my gut. I might see diarrhea, constipation. I might feel a little sick. I might vomit, stomach pain, heartburn, gas. A lot of things, side effects, symptoms of whatever I'm taking. So if you're a normal person and all of a sudden you start getting a little bit of heartburn, hey, there might be something out there. Just right now, this is an awareness. Do a little bit of your own education and see if that's part of the problem. Okay, so if I want to eliminate the COX-2 only, but not affects COX-1, in other words, I really want it to be COX-2, selective is what they advertise. What do? Well, about 10 years, maybe a little longer than that, I got involved with a network marketing company called Zango. And it was primarily the mangosteen plant. It's not a mango, it's more of a fig, I guess, if you had to look at something. But a lot of the nutritional value is in the carp, the outside covering, the protective mechanism that it allows it to grow. So when I recommend people to buy a whole fruit mangosteen product, the whole fruit means that they've chopped up the outside there's a word for it. I can't think of it right this second. But make sure the whole fruit's in there, not just the juice, because the juice doesn't contain some of the primary ones that are needed. In this particular case, the thing is called gamma mangosteen. It's one of, well, it used to be 42 xanthones that I knew about 10 years ago. But when I started doing research for today, I found out there's over 60 just in mangosteen. And there's probably about 650 in other products. But the mangosteen is something that is fairly easy to get. You can go into a lot of stores, buy it online, but you're looking for whole fruit mangosteen juice. And that has an amazing amount of curative issues. I've worked in the backyard, and all of a sudden I can feel a blister starting to form. I take a swallow of 2-4 ounces of what I call Zango juice, and that gamma mangosteen will stop the blister. Even if the blister appears, by tomorrow morning I have no more blister. It's gone. It's just don't feel anything. I can see where the blister might have been. Maybe I had one time where I wasn't paying attention. I was talking to somebody and I closed the door on my thumb, and I walked right back inside the house, and I took literally probably about 8 ounces, maybe 10 ounces of Zango juice. And I came back. It never swelled. It never turned red. I had full mobility of my thumb. And if I actually touched it and pushed on it, I could feel some pain. But all the stuff that typically the COX-2 would activate through the arachidonic acid into the thromboxanes and into the prostaglandins and everything, it stopped all that. It would not allow it to occur. So it was a very effective mechanism. Yes, I didn't isolate the area, but I allowed my healing properties to get in there without having to be and then fighting other things in that swelling. I healed up super fast. And I've had people where they take the mangosteen juice, with the gamma mangosteen, and they go into surgery and they come out and they literally have no swelling, they have no pain, they have zero problems. I used to be a runner way back when, and sometimes you're injured and you out for several months and you go back to running again. And for me, it's usually about the third day I go out and run 4, 5, 6 miles, and oh my goodness, things are really tender. They hurt. I take the mangosteen 3 or 4 ounces ahead of time, take it after the race, if I'm racing with my grandkids or whatever, and no pain, zero. So the ability to shut down COX-2 and the lipooxygenase, the LOX reactions that create the arachidonic acid that starts the whole pain process, that inflammation protocol that our body sees all the time, can be taken care of with natural products. Now, can I wait till tomorrow, the next day to take it? Yeah, the longer you wait, the longer it's going to take. But if you happen to have it and it's available, boom, it's there. But mangosteen, the gamma mangosteen, that's one of the xanthones. It stops the interleukin, in this particular case, the 1B. It stops the 6 tumor necrosis factor, cytokines, enzymes. It works on the whole gambit of the pathways that modulate this pain progression through the body. It also addresses what I call free radical damage, which we'll talk about a little bit more in a couple of minutes. But the free radicals are what goes in there and causes a lot of the inflammation at the cellular level. And when I'm looking at free radicals, the reaction that I get at the cellular level, at DNA, my RNA, my proteins, my enzymes, all of those are generally handled by the body. It can do repairs to the DNA without activating the immune system, without getting white blood cells and everything else involved. So we have the ability, by our lifestyle choices and by our foods primarily, to reduce inflammation. But if I don't take care of the first level of cause of disease, inflammation at the cellular level, I raise up to the next level, which is called oxidative stress. And I get this reactive oxygen species, and there's several of them in there that involve oxygen. Nitric oxide is one, but it's really part of a reactive nitrogen species. But those are two, and all of these free radicals that are out there are not all the same. They don't all look the same. I can't just go in and treat them all with one particular antioxidant. We'll talk a little bit about that here very, very quickly. But the gamma mangosteen, it modulates the entire pathway, kind of prepares. You don't need to activate. Just calm down. Everything's under control. So it shortens my healing time significantly. Now I start looking at the free radicals. This every day, 24/7, it goes on. At my cellular level, I have a cell, I have my mitochondria, I have my DNA, I have my RNA, I have all sorts of things inside that cell. Well, free radicals are created, they're transmitted by the bloodstream, they get in, they touch whatever they touch. I mean, they just touch something and boom, a chemical reaction occurs. The free radical is any molecule that is missing an electron. So if I have a molecule that's supposed to have 6 electrons and one of them is missing, it's a free radical. It doesn't matter what the rest of it looks like. It's now a free radical because it's missing an electron. And when it's missing an electron, it's very, very unstable. It goes and touches another electron and reaches out and grabs for an electron. Now it's stable because it's back to its normal condition. But the new molecule that it touched and grabbed an electron from is now a free radical. So it's kind of one of these spirals that no matter what you do, you're creating free radicals all the time. And I'm creating them from a number of sources. We'll talk about that. But for right now, at the individual cellular level. But what if I happen to have an antioxidant that would donate a free radical, an electron, but would not become a free radical? We have those. And there are a lot of them out there. That's part of the food you eat. But let's take something simple like vitamin C. Vitamin C can donate up to 6 electrons over time. They get replaced. But it literally can calm down 6 different free radicals. So I have a neutralization process by some of the things I choose to eat. I talk about PQQ for the brain. I think it's one of the best antioxidants available, pyrroloquinolinone. and it can regenerate itself 25,000 times. Usually when something is neutralized, that's it. It's no longer of value. But the PQQ, particularly for brain issues, is probably one of the best things out there. But when the molecules lose an electron, they become a free radical. They attack other molecules. Now we've got a little bit of stability issue. But if I have my inflammation under control through the choices that I make food-wise primarily, I can control that inflammatory response at the low level so it doesn't become chronic. It's just low level, but it's not permeating everything. But left untreated, it becomes chronic. Left untreated long enough, it becomes oxidative stress. Probably the easiest thing to view is you see a piece of metal outside that's rusted. That's oxidation. That's oxidative stress. So we don't want to have that happen in our bodies. Not that they turn to rust, but it's just an example. So if I look at what happens inside my cell, I end up with all sorts of damage. The cells can repair themselves fairly well, but I don't have any disease. No infection exists. I can't detect it if I wanted to. It's there, but I can't find it. I can maybe find it at some of the lowest levels. I'll talk about one of the tests that I like to have done. But it's a normal process in our body. So that low level cellular inflammation happens. We don't want it to become chronic. That becomes a problem down the road. So the antioxidants will neutralize the free radicals. I kind of maintain some sense of balance and happy camper as far as my cells go. My normal metabolism I talked about with regard to cellular repair, that controls a little bit of that free radical damage. So I have it, it's under control, and I can allow my body to help itself by choosing some of the right things or not choosing. Both work. Diet can help significantly. Not all free radicals are the same. I can't, because of the electronic structure, the molecular structure of a molecule, if this electron is ripped off up here, it's going to change a little bit. If it's ripped off down here, it's going to change a little bit differently. And I have to have an antioxidant that has an electron to donate that's going to be able to fit up next to that molecule and allow that transfer of electrons to occur. If this molecule that's my antioxidant has a fairly hidden available electron, it can never match up and there's a mismatch. I may have some antioxidants, but they're not all the same. So you need to have a variety to provide your body with the opportunity to take and select the ones that work. I get free radicals from my environment, the clothes I wear, the personal skin, personal care products I put on, shampoo, underarm deodorant, soap, smoking, firsthand, secondhand, a lot of foods I have, depending on the toxin levels are in them, how they're prepared, toxins themselves, and they come from all sorts of places, probably the most from personal care products. Radiation, I'm sitting here in front of a pretty good sized screen, bigger than I can show it through my hands. And I'm getting blue light, which is a kind of a pollution to my eyes over time, especially if it's all late at night and I'm trying to go to bed quickly. But the radiation coming from my cell phone, coming from a lot of different sources, the sun, stress, if there's enough of it out there, it overwhelms my antioxidant protection. That's where I start looking at oxidative stress. So that next level, oxidative stress, that's where I start seeing cellular and tissue damage. I may see premature aging. My risk for age-related diseases go up. My risk for other things rise. So the inflammation is subtle when it starts out. It's somewhat easy to contain when it's at the cellular level and not chronic, but it starts getting above that oxidative stress level long enough. Now we start seeing other issues that are out. I activate my immune system and it works, but if I keep it constantly in motion, it's continuously active, it's going to get tired. It's not going to have enough replacement in it to keep everything going. So I have to look at what can I do? Well, at most of these levels we're talking about, it's starting to get into your kidney, your heart, your lung, your brain. And maybe we can find it if we knew what to test for and we had the equipment that can go to that level, and maybe we don't. But there's no reason, because nothing is happening that tells us something's wrong. But at the tissue level, I'm starting to see some beginning of dysfunction. And as I continue a poor diet, lack of exercise. I'm not getting the oxygen flow through the body that I need. I start becoming a little bit overweight. I don't handle my stress. I can't get my sleep good enough to make the repairs my body needs. I'm adding more toxins that my body can't get rid of. All of these things are feeding that next level of health issue that we don't know about yet. So it might be a cardiovascular issue. It might be a pulmonary one. It might be some infections, arthritis. Now, typically, we look at rheumatoid arthritis as an autoimmune disease, but we have 130 different autoimmune diseases, maybe more. The osteoarthritis is some kind of wear out, but the arthritis I'm talking about here is primarily a rheumatoid arthritis. Because this thing attacks the brain and everything else, free radicals can go anywhere they want. I may start looking at some kind of neurological issues. Anxiety and depression don't help the situation. They kind of exacerbate and hide some of the stuff. Diabetes, cancer, a lot of cancer. In fact, in my research for the program today, I was reading about the gamma mangosteen and the alpha mangosteen. There's several different mangosteen xanthones out there, and they're using a lot of them, I think, primarily in colon cancer. But the mangosteen fruit has just a wealth of healing associated with it. But again, if you're going to buy it in a bottle, it's a juice. Make sure you get the whole fruit version of it, because that's where you get that pericarp, that rind on the outside that has most of the xanthones and things. But as my risks of disease go up, I may see some contributing factors along the way. I may be putting on some extra weight. Happens to us, all of us. I may end up experiencing a lot more fatigue than I've seen. Oh, I'm a whole lot more tired this year than last year or 2 years ago or 5 years, whatever. But we're going to start seeing gradual changes. I'm going to have maybe more of an ability to not focus as clearly or as long as I want to. I may be seeing some signs of aging, maybe little crow's feet here and there, maybe the ability to take two tries to get out of a chair, maybe not walking as comfortably as I used to be. And I may see illnesses popping up. And this is kind of one of those things that, if I'm seeing an illness and then I get healed, I'm cured of it, and I see another one and another one over a period of a year, 2, 3, 4, that's kind of a clue. There's something going on that your body is producing as an illness, and it's probably an inflammatory cause. So that's kind of a really good indicator. Now, obviously, COVID or something else that's out there, all bets are off. It's going to challenge your immune system and open you up for other things. But in a normal environment, no. CRP, C-reactive protein. It is a protein that the body activates in the presence of inflammation. It's not going to tell you I have inflammation in my brain or my heart or my kidneys. It's just going to say, I have inflammation in my body. Now, I can take a look at the reading and say, whoa, I need to maybe go talk to somebody. I give them my family history. They run some tests. Okay, maybe I have kidney disease. Maybe I have something else that can be found. And that's not always a guarantee. I may have a cancer growing that they don't have that particular test available in my doctor's office. CRP is a blood test. Pretty simple, easy to get. I get that one done every physical. I'm going to say the last several years, most of the time it's undetectable. It's down below 0.25%. So you have to go to a highly sensitive CRP test. But if it's down in that range, less than 1, you're pretty good. Can you still have something that's hidden? I've been told yes. I don't know. But it detects whole body inflammation. And if I'm looking at my whole body, what can I do about it? Well, I said, talk to your doctor or look at some other things. But there's some things we can do to fight that inflammation in the body. One of them is food. I want to avoid anything that produces advanced glycation end products, AGEs. That's that on the barbecue, that black crust that tastes so good. On the deep fried chicken, that crusty, succulent, crispy coating on the outside of the chicken. The tenderness of just so many things there that AGEs make us almost impossible to avoid. Processed foods. Until 1976, we didn't have a whole lot of processed foods. Then all of a sudden we went into this over-processed evolution. And if you try to isolate, when did obesity really become a problem in the United States? 1976. with the evolution of these processed foods in boxes, in jars, in cans. But it wasn't just the mere fact they were in boxes, jars, and cans. It was all the extra chemicals that were added to preserve them, to make them look better, to make them taste better, to make them more unctuous on our mouth. Any of your sweets, your candies, your pies, your cakes, all of those things create a lot of inflammation. Mentioned deep fried, margarine, your trans fats, popcorn, especially microwave popcorn, more so than anything else because of all the extra chemicals that are in there to make that. Non-dairy creamers, any kind of bread, pasta, white flour, lots of issues there with being able to provide inflammatory products to the body. So if I happen to have a high CRP, maybe I might want to back off on bread, pasta, rice, potatoes. Maybe I want to back off on fried chicken. Maybe I want to avoid seed oils, in other words, my vegetable oils. There are a lot of things I can avoid in order to try to bring down my body's inflammation. I eat more antioxidant kind of products. A lot of berries are super good. If I look at what I'm cooking, maybe I might want to change to a fast stir fry, to a baking or steaming. I like to saute more than anything else, but grilling, deep frying are probably the worst options. They get you that advanced glycation end product on the outside of the skin. Labels. I've been preaching forever and ever and ever. Read the labels of whatever you're buying. If there's 20 or 30 or 40 things on there, maybe that's not what you want. But if I'm looking for sugar because maybe I'm pre-diabetic, there's 50 different names at least for sugar, depending on how the manufacturer wants to label it. And maybe they put it in 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 different labels, so they're not showing you the total impact. Vegetable oil is omega-6. It's needed. It's essential. Our bodies don't make it. But in the products that we eat, we get way too much. If you get more than a 4-to-1 ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acids, it becomes inflammatory in the body. And the standard American diet is significantly high in omega-6. Antioxidants, omega-3, fatty fish, a lot of supplements, but a lot of supplements in name only, they look good, but they really don't provide the level of protection that real food does. Vitamin C, polyphenols, those are your berries primarily, fiber for your gut. Dark chocolate, some spices such as turmeric, rosemary, cinnamon, ginger, cumin. I'm going to pop over here to the last page. Resveratrol tea. Let me back up here and see if there's something I want to say real quick. No, okay. Turmeric and resveratrol are two that you have to have black pepper extract with them to make them bioavailable in the body. The other go in there, but they're by themselves, they're not really that great. But I need to have that black pepper, piperine, in order to actually activate in the body and be of some value. You know, green tea, white tea, black tea, all have different levels of protection. Lots of things there. Ginger, oregano, turmeric, all say COX-1 and COX-2. They'll say COX-2 only, selective. I did a lot of research here trying to figure out. I find one, okay, yeah, this is strictly protects against, but then another article says, no, it doesn't. It does both. So there's a lot of confusion out there, and rather than confuse you anymore, I'm just going to say right now that for my personal preferences, the gamba mangosteen and a whole fruit mangosteen juice is probably the best thing to be taking. There's some other ones out there that might be of value, but right this minute, they're going to hurt. They're going to help because they're not going to be activating as much. They certainly taste good. They help you in other ways, but those are the ones I'd recommend. So if left untreated, you're in risk of Alzheimer's, osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, obesity, colon issues, cancer, age-related. All of these things can be modulated to a degree with lifestyle choices, our diet, our exercise, our stress management, our sleep, etc. So monitor those as best you can. If we want to remain normal, we can't let everything else remain untreated. We have to increase those things that help us. So getting ready to wrap up the show. Again, I'm Red O'Laughlin. My website is red.olaughlin.com. They promised me tomorrow, but they've promised me several times already. So very shortly, I'm going to have a brand new website updated, but red.olaughlin.com. That's RED like the color, red.olaughlin, OLAUGHLIN.com. So red.olaughlin.com. I can be reached at red.olaughlin.com for email, or red.olaughlin@gmail.com. All my books will be available on my website. They're available on Kindle and not Barnes & Noble. I only have one book available in Barnes & Noble, and it's not one of the ones up there right this minute. But go ahead and look at Google, and very shortly you'll be able to find on my website all of these books available on about 20 different publishing places. With that being said, let me take a look real quickly here. My topic next week is going to be diet. So we're going to talk about diet next week. And time-wise, I think we're fine. So I'm going to sign off for Talking Heads on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. Thank you for joining me today. If you want to see any past episodes, go to YouTube, select USA Global TV, go to playlist, type my name in, and you'll have plenty of opportunities to see the shows like Talking Heads, The Wise Ones, and The Corner Bookstore. Thank you all very much. Catch you next week. Bye now.
Have you ever felt unheard? Like your words float into a void, leaving you invisible and disconnected? How about feeling judged, when assumptions overshadow your truth, leaving you misunderstood and defensive? And then there's that moment when someone offers solutions you never asked for, dismissing your feelings and leaving you more frustrated than before. It doesn't have to be this way. Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, the listening mentor, understands. She's here to help you reclaim your voice, build stronger connections, and create meaningful conversations that inspire understanding and mutual respect. Through her groundbreaking books, online and in-person courses, and interactive workshops, you'll learn how to navigate life's most challenging interactions. Discover the power of elevated listening and transform how you communicate. Master setting boundaries and asking permission to protect your peace. Learn to recognize and release judgment, fostering empathy and true connection. Dr. Kerbeck also offers personalized coaching, one-on-one or group sessions, designed to fit your unique needs. Whether in person or virtually on StreamYard, her guidance will empower you to thrive. You don't have to struggle alone. The path to deeper connections and better relationships start here. Visit drjacqueline.com or usaglobaltv.com. Join a global community of empowered listeners and transform your life, one meaningful conversation at a time. Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck is the listening mentor. Start your journey today.